Good morning. Chinese companies are at the top of the most important supply chains in the world, almost all of them. Policymakers in North America and in Europe are using tariffs, which are intended to compel corporate executives to move supply chains to domestic markets. Chinese officials are using their dominant positions in these supply chains by slowing them down or shutting them off completely to force those companies to move their production to China, where the supply chains are. The results of these strategies are becoming obvious, and Western managers are faced with either buying more from China or closing factories. It's happening in all manufacturing sectors, but we'll look today at car makers. In the United States, factories are already cutting back, and things will get worse soon. It's a mistake to think that the rare earths problem is only hitting electric vehicles. All the cars use these magnets in braking systems, steering, fuel injection, even car seats. China has stopped the exports of these magnets, and everyone outside China is running out. The two big challenges are spelled out here. China makes almost all of them, 9 times more than the rest of the world combined, and that's just too big of a number to be overcome anytime soon. The second problem is that the industry is very capital intensive. Everything is expensive. Land, surveying, equipment, refining, new roads and water sources, but the profit margins aren't big enough to attract the capital. It also doesn't attract enough students to want to learn how to do all this tough work for little reward. China has 30 university programs for the chemistry and engineering for rare earth processing, and the United States doesn't have any at all. On the Chinese side, it takes a long time for government approvals for new rare earth export applications. So some magnet manufacturers here are not making them at all, pending new guidance and permissions to export. So big problems at American automotive plants, which will be at a standstill soon enough. There are similar problems everywhere else. The American position is probably worse because these Chinese rare earth export restrictions specifically target the United States and Pentagon contractors and weapons manufacturers. Still, European manufacturing is also in big trouble. And in Japan, Suzuki shut down production of its Swift compact due to supply chain problems on Chinese-sourced rare earth metals and magnets. This is a historic first for Japanese car makers. It was originally a 10-day production halt, then Suzuki extended that by another week. Ford Motor was the first to close production lines. In May, the Explorer SUV plant in Chicago halted production, and European automotive suppliers say they're closing some plants. In India, Automakers warned that they too will be shutting down production. This is the just-in-time manufacturing system in action, whereby manufacturers keep limited quantities of parts on hand to keep their inventory costs down. 3 to 6 weeks of stock are typical, sometimes a little more. So it becomes a math problem at that point. Daily production divided into current stocks tells you how many days of work you've got left. In order to buy more, companies there need first to get approval from India's government, then the paperwork goes to the Chinese embassy, then on to suppliers here, where all the parties to the sale fall under strict export rules. India has more than 20 pending applications and no progress yet. Indian car makers then are looking at having China make more of the motor assemblies. Company executives in North America are also looking for answers fast, and their 2 stark choices are spelled out here in this Wall Street Journal byline. Shut down assembly lines or move production to China. One idea on the engineering side is to reduce how many magnets are needed in the car. Adjustable seats, power windows, sound systems. We could go back to doing things the old way, but car buyers would obviously demand price discounts if these user-friendly features are stripped out. Companies are just weeks away now from shutting down car production. So one alternative is to produce the electric motors in Chinese factories, or send American motors to China and let Chinese factories put in the magnets. Both of those assumed that that would be acceptable by authorities here, but analysts believe so because the export restrictions govern magnets and the rare earths themselves, but not necessarily the finished parts. Some production lines in Europe are already closed, along with Ford Explorer in Chicago and Suzuki in Japan, and parts suppliers are warning officials in Washington that shutdowns are imminent. There are two choices here, one bad and the other very bad. Ship parts across the Pacific to have a tiny magnet installed and then shipped back. That costs a lot of money and time, and they're running out of time. That strategy also exposes companies to higher tariffs. Ironically, again, because Chinese factories would be shipping higher value electric motors back to the United States and Europe. The alternative, though, is closing factories. Manufacturers cannot get these magnets from anywhere else to close the gap between China at 90% and the rest of the world combined at just 10%. Our tariff strategy, again, is to make the tariffs high enough that we build the mines and the refineries and the manufacturing centers for these magnets and eventually decouple all these chains from China. Even if it does work, that will take many years, decades. China's strategy is to keep these magnets and metals for themselves and then just wait for their phones to ring. This is Chuxiong in Yunnan province. Be good.
Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek,